What up, everybody? It's your boy, the Infinite Dragon here, and I have a discussion video for you. I know I don't really upload these kinds of things to this YouTube channel, or I haven't really uploaded anything in the past 2 years, so here we are. If you want to see the full unedited video, link to that is in the description down below, as well as a link to my Twitch channel, which is where we had the discussion in the first place. I want to do more of these kinds of just chatting, talking, discussion videos and whatnot. So if you really like it, let me know by hitting that like button and comment some of your favorite or your top hot takes, your anime hot takes. Let me know. I want to know how other people feel about the state of anime right now. So, just let me know. All right, on to the video. I wanted to talk about a couple things. So you guys have known that I have a thing that I like to dub the Japan clause. So anytime an anime happens and there's a bunch of weird shit, like a bunch of sus shit that's not really okay, morally speaking, or just something you don't really agree with, and you want to recommend an anime or someone to something, or to an anime or something to someone, Jesus, you gotta put like the Japan clause on there, be like, hey, by the way, it's a little sus. There's some things in here that I don't think you specifically would like, but I swear the anime is good. I swear. So you got to like tag the Japan clause on there. And that's one of my favorite anime. One of my favorite anime is the Monogatari series, right? I've tried to show you guys that before with Kizu Monogatari because that's like the beginning and it's like a couple of movies. It's three hour-long specials. But the problem with the series as a whole is that there's one, a lot of fan service, and two, there's 3 lolis in there, and things happen to them. So it's really hard to recommend that anime to anybody because of those things, despite the fact that I think that the writing is fucking A1. But like, I'm not really the kind of guy to just say, nah, Japan's weird and move on with that. I wanted to like kind of figure out what's going on with all of that. You know what I mean? So like, why is there a bunch of weird shit in anime? That kind of thing. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about for the most part. And that all started with I guess me wanted to talk about the conversation started with a little video from Sylvanus. Let me pull it up real quick. So like, this is him talking about Dandadan. I actually had this exact conversation with Day not that long ago, like a month or so ago.
Anime, but I think you're gonna really like this show, Dandadan, bro. Let's watch it.
All right, let's do it. That's what I'm here to see, right?
All right, let's do it.
It's pretty hard. I like this opening.
Yeah,
the opening is killer.
Like it.
Man, this is great. He about to see this crazy animation, these dope fight scenes. He gonna be so happy I put him on to this anime, man. Wait, why is he making that face? What's going on? Like, what? Why are you acting like that?
We are Serpoians. We are called that because we come from the planet Serpo. We shall have intercourse with you, after which we will extract your uterus along with your bananas for research purposes.
The hell you will! I might have dated a loser-ass scumbag, but I never let him take my virginity! I'm saving it for a Ken Takakura I haven't even met yet! And there's no way you creepy aliens are taking it!
I'll let you suckle my teats, boy. If you let me gobble your dog.
We will now use psychokinesis to control your brainwaves and arouse you. How does it feel? Is your body getting warmer?
No!
You are resisting our psychokinesis. You have a strong will.
Yeah, when I can see why people think Dandadan would be too sus. I didn't like the anime before I saw Okarun transform. Yeah, no, like this whole entire situation happens with like a lot of anime, because Dandadan's probably one of the like anime of the year for a lot of people last year. I don't know how fucking Solo Leveling won in that, but anime fucking awards ceremonies are not real anyway. But my point being is that this kind of thing happens all the time. I had this conversation with Day. Day was like, I like the anime, but the shit that's going on in the show, stuff like this makes me uncomfortable. And I'm like, you know what? I can't even get mad at you for that. Because, yeah, I guess I'm not physically a woman, so I wouldn't know what, like, this weird this is supposed to be uncomfortable, but like I don't know how that would make someone uncomfortable if they were physically female. You know what I mean? So.
However, we shall begin.
Yeah, like.
No!
Yeah.
Stop!
I shall now commence with the arousal.
She doesn't actually get, they don't actually like.
Yeah.
Cause if I die, any hope you have of getting your nuts back dies with me. I'm in charge here cause I got the kid by his balls, literally.
That one wasn't as bad as the other thing,
Where
but
you
like.
go? Why you acting like this?
Well,
Just sit down, bro. Just sit back.
Crap!
Bro, what is you doing, bro? Sit down, man. Sit down, man. What is you doing, bro? Why you keep looking at me like that, bro?
yeah.
Bro, like, why you looking at me like that? Sit down, bro. Come on.
His balls are covered in...
Although I wanna point out that if you made it that far into the anime, you're already locked in. If you made it to the point where Momo's in the fucking hot spring, you're already locked in. It's too late for you. You're already a fan. That first scene though, in the first episode, yeah, I had to like caveat that with a couple of people. I'm like, hey, listen, it kind of gets weird at the beginning, but like it gets better.
in a layer of my spiritual energy. You'll know them when you see them. They're hard to miss.
Well, I'm not seeing them anywhere.
Bro, you getting dramatic, bro. Like, yes, I know they looking for a child's nuts, okay, but it's like done in a funny way.
It's like
right?
it's metaphorical, you know what I mean? Like they're literally trying to find his manhood because like, you know, he's a little bitch like at the start, and he's trying to like, you know, when he finds his nuts, he'll like literally become it's symbolic, I swear.
So that makes it okay to watch the show. Hey man, where the fuck is you going? What is you doing, bro? Sit down. Bro, you gonna watch this shit with me. We're both going to jail, nigga. It's not gonna be just me.
But yeah, like that happens in a lot of anime, if not like all of them. It happens in a lot of anime. I think the most wholesome anime we've watched this entire season is, yeah, what is it called? The Flower That Bloomed with Dignity. That's probably the most wholesome one because nothing happens in that one. Like actually nothing happens in that one. But like a lot of really good anime have that caveat of like, yeah, that's kind of bad. That's really, really sus. I don't really know what to do about that. The anime that I was talking about, the Monogatari series, has a scene in Kizumonogatari where one of the characters literally takes off her panties and hands it to the main character. It doesn't serve any plot purpose other than to show that they're friends, in quotation marks. And yeah, there's no reason for that scene to happen in the context of the show other than to show that they're close. And it's really hard to sell somebody on an anime when shit like that happens. You know what I mean? Taking all the weird scenes is worth seeing Okuro and Momo's relationship. I agree. But like the problem now is like why is all of this happening? You know what I mean? Why is why did we could have just not had that? We could have just not had that from the beginning. That didn't need to be a part of the show. And I'm not the kind of person that could just take that at face value. Now I've been desensitized to it because I've been watching anime since I was since I was a little since I was like 7. I'm sure we all have at this point. So a lot of us are just kind of desensitized to it. We just kind of just go, yeah, that's anime. But like, why is that a thing? Well, let's start with like all of the overly sexual shit that's going on in Japan, right? Like, why are there so many titties? How come I can't watch my cute show about people doing their special entrance in Dress Up Darling without Marion Kitagawa's titties showing up on the screen, right? And I think that discussion or that answer kind of shows up when you kind of look at Japan in like a cultural sense and how like they formed culturally. I think all of the answers come up culturally. And before I even start this, I want to be very clear that I am not excusing any of this behavior. I just kind of want to see where it comes from. Like, how did this happen? But I think if you look at Japan as a culture, it kind of makes sense. The way that Japan kind of forms, has been formed rather, is that their society is completely different from like Western or American society. Their society comes from an idea of you're doing everything for the community. You're doing everything for the entirety of the country, entirely for the village, entirely for the country. You are serving the entire populace, right? And you see a lot of interesting things that become of that, such as the fact that all anime characters have some form of social anxiety. You know what I mean? Like Mob Psycho is a great example of that. Mob's entire journey of becoming an adult is him not understanding how it is to talk to people because he's socially anxious. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. In fact, that's one of his character arcs. So one of his character arcs is, I don't know how to quote unquote to get a clue. And I think that's because of all the social and the social implications of growing up in a Japanese society. It's incredibly repressive because if you do anything out of the order or anything that serves you as a person other than other people, you get shunned and shamed, and you kind of get put back in your place. And that makes it very hard for you to express yourself. As such, because of the way that society kind of shapes people in Japan, it's kind of hard to do any kind of any kind of representation. I'm gonna see if I can find a video real quick. Okay, here it is. I think this is what
the 3 most uncomfortable words for Japanese people. Okay, it's not that uncomfortable, but it is a phrase we don't say very often in Japan. Not only that, but hugging, holding, and kissing isn't very normal for us either. So the question is, why don't Japanese people show love the same way everyone around the world does?
This is what we're talking about.
Well, we definitely have our reasons. And
so I was talking about the fact that a lot of anime has a lot of like really sexual stuff. There's a lot of fan service stuff and whatnot. And I think this kind of explains how different the culture is there, because Japan as a society doesn't show any kind of like attention like in public. All of their private matters stay private. So that includes public displays of affection, that kind of thing. So I'll let her explain it because she's actually fucking Japanese, so she can probably explain it better than I can.
Trust me, none of them have anything to do with the crazy idea that we are all emotionless robots. Or are we?
I must be a robot. Why else would human women refuse to date me?
Oh, lots of reasons.
The Japanese word for love is ai, and to say I love you, it's aishiteru. So while we do have this phrase, we almost never say it. Unlike in a country like America, where it's so common to use it.
I'm tired, I'm wasted, I love you, darling.
You guys will say I love you to your soulmate, to your mom. You guys even say it to your favorite snacks, like the ones from today's sponsor, Take Treat. But in Japanese, ai is a super important word that we only use for very serious moments. For example, when you propose, get married, or even when you're on your...
Alright, fun little Japanese fact. To say you like someone, you would say suki or ski. To say you really, really like someone, it would be the equivalent to saying I love you. It would be daisuki. And then to say you love somebody like in a like a marital way, or like you would a family member, you would say aishiteru. You basically would almost never say the last one unless you are actually married to somebody. So if you guys have seen me during Anime Club, I pause and I go, whoa, he said the big I love you, because he said aishiteru. That's what I'm reacting to. I'm like, oh, you don't normally do that. That's insane.
Deathbed.
I love you too, Dad.
You loves me?
Dad?
What kind of man tells another man he loves him? I don't want to die with my sissy son who loves me.
But if you try to use it outside of these special moments, it just comes off as extremely cringe and inappropriate.
I love you so much. I love you more than there are grains of sand on every beach of every planet, of every galaxy of the universe.
I was also really surprised how English speakers use I love you with family too.
I love you. I mean, not in like a, hey, let's have an underpants party or whatever grown-ups do when they're in love.
I don't think I've ever told my parents those words. And I don't remember them ever saying it to me either.
Or even more so, I was wrong.
What do we say in a normal situation? We say, daisuki, which means,
I like you a lot.
I know in English, it sounds kind of weird to say, I really like you, rather than I love you. But for us, it can be very powerful in the right context. And in other cases, different words can carry the same weight as I love you. Words like arigato or gomen nasai can hold just as much meaning depending on its situation. We also have to talk about how Japanese almost never hug or touch each other.
This
when
is
it
what I'm
comes
talking
to
about here.
non-romantic touching, like friendly hugs, patting someone on the back, putting your arms around someone's shoulders. This isn't as common among friends, family, and sometimes even lovers in Japan compared to other countries. Hugging is definitely something that threw me off when I started meeting non-Japanese people. In fact, when my husband first did it to me, it was so awkward for me. I just froze and didn't know what to do. Oh yeah, that reminds me of another time where he got a stomachache after eating some bad sushi. My poor toilet never recovered from that.
Okay.
Of course, when it comes to romantic relationships, we do all the same things you guys do. From hugging to kissing to... But public displays of affection are still pretty rare in Japan. You'll hardly see any Japanese couple holding each other, hugging, and almost never kissing in public. I can tell you for sure that I've never once seen my parents kiss or hold each other. In fact, I remember my friends also saying the same thing about their parents. And even though hugging and kissing can be non-romantic, like the way a parent kisses their child, this is also something you probably won't see much of. So instead of hugging and kissing a child, Japanese parents will sleep in the same bed with them for much longer than in Western countries. Some parents will even sleep with their kids until they are 6 years old. Another is taking a bath with the child.
The family takes their daily bath. They shower first, and then soak in a deep, very hot tub.
It's quite normal for parents to bathe with the kids up to 9 years old. Also, taking a bath with their friends, colleagues, and family members as an adult is a very normal bonding event. If we have really good skinship with them, it's normal to wash each other's back. It is kind of funny when you think about it, right? We are okay being naked with each other, washing each other's backs. But give someone a hug and it's suddenly so weird. But beyond the fact
So this is what I'm talking about. You keep your private matters private in Japanese society. And I think that because there's not a lot of like public displays of affection or anything like that, and a lot of people don't know how to like get that kind of it's not common, right? It's not common to see all the stuff that you would see in fucking Western media. Like you see what we were watching Edge of Tomorrow, right? And in Edge of Tomorrow, there's a bunch of shots of the girl. I don't remember the actress's name, but Rita, just being hot, right? She's all sweaty after working out. You can see her abs, her muscles, and everything. And I just don't think stuff like that happens in Japan. And so they kind of get away with it by having it happen in media. They get away with happening in with the fan service shots, and that's why a lot of the fan service. I think. I'm not an expert. I'm not a fucking anthropologist. I just took a class once in college. But I think that's kind of why that stuff happens. You know what I mean? That's why public baths are so common. Yeah. And I think that's also why when you see in anime, like when like characters like hold hands or like confess their love or like hug or something like that, the characters freak out over that. And while to us, just like, dude, it's a fucking hug. What are you doing? Right, you guys have seen me play some Japanese games, and I'm like, oh no, the character is allergic to women because they freak out over something. I think that's why that is, because because of how not common it is, because of how their displays of love is so different. So again, I think it's kind of like, I don't want to say repressed, but it's a type of repression that they're trying to express through media because it's so different from how real life is. Right, it's that kind of thing. It's like how A different version of that would be a different version of that would be how every fucking man in an action movie has to be shredded and ripped, despite the fact that that's not real life in America. Most people are like obese, right? Something I want to bring up is people often conflate the over-sexualization of women with men and also being portrayed as muscular and shit. There's a difference. There is a difference. With women, it's sexualization, and men, it's idealism. Both are aimed for a male audience. For women characters, if you, it's you want to fuck her, and with men, it's you want to be this muscular man. JoJo is an exception because I think ironically, just like men are hot. I was actually gonna say I think JoJo was one of those things where the men are kind of sexualized a lot. Like there's a lot of like physiques and everything in JoJo that are like very clearly sexualized, and it's really like it's very clearly sexualized. Like there's a bunch of people, like the whole entire scene with Bruno licking Giorno, it's the gayest shit I've ever seen. And then there's the shot with Giorno like holding Mista by his hips and aiming the gun with him. Gayest shit I've ever seen. Then there's also the fact that it's just straight up a gay couple in part 5. Part 5 is so good. Also, Narancia thinks Misto and Giorno are having gay sex on the bench, and Mista's moaning in pain while Giorno heals him. Yeah, and Narancia just goes, I guess I'll give them some space. Like, he doesn't, like, cringe or he cringes at it, but he cringes at it because he thinks they're doing sex in public. Not because it's gay. He just goes, I guess I'll just give them some space. I didn't find them. I didn't find them, Bruno. I don't know what happened to them. I'll find them eventually, I guess. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna see if I can find it. I found it. I'm okay with the over-sexualization part, in quotation marks, with an asterisk next to that. But one, let's stop making it be fucking teenagers. And two, have it make it go both ways, goddammit. I understand, it doesn't have to be fucking shoujo or some shit. Like, just put it in fucking shonen and shit. You can have it go both ways. It doesn't have to be just women's titties and everything. Another thing that you see a lot is that a lot of anime features a bunch of teenagers. And I think the reason, I don't really have a video of this in mind, but I think the reason why a lot of anime features a lot of teenagers is because in Japanese work culture, you basically start working, and the moment you start working, your life is over. So you get out of high school and you either go to college and you have a little couple of years to mess around in college, but you're mostly focusing on your work. And then you get out of college and you go to work, or you get out of high school and you immediately start working. And then your entire life becomes work. And I don't need to tell you guys about like the toxic Japanese work culture. I think everybody knows about that. Like they actually have people collapsing and everything from working. It's not uncommon for people to sleep at their workstations, apparently, in Japan. If you guys seen the anime Agretsuko, that's what that whole first season is. The whole entire first season is Agretsuko, being stressed out from work, and she goes to karaoke and sings death metal to get her stress off. People who have played Earthbound, your dad is a phone in Earthbound. You don't ever see your Ness's physical father. He's labeled in the credits as the phone. So yeah, the entire workforce and everything that you have to go into in Japan, and people work themselves literally to death. I think that's why all anime is about teenagers, because for one, that's a nostalgic time for Japanese people, because everybody remembers the time when they were young and they had a lot of time to go do whatever they want and mess around and this, that, and the other. And it's a nostalgic time for them. So people who are watching, it's literally catered to those people who want to remember a happier time. And on top of the fact, that's when, as a teenager, that's when you have the most freedom. And you don't even need to be Japanese to understand that one. You guys remember how free you guys were as teenagers? Hell, Weez is still a teenager. He has fucking no responsibilities at the moment. It must be great. Must be nice. Must be nice to not have any bills, bro. Filler specifically mentioned that she has a problem with a lot of sexism and classic gender roles in Japan. And I think that simply became a thing because Japan is, socially speaking, kind of further back. I think a lot of Asian territories are a little bit further back, and like that kind of thing is still happening in Western territories. Like, we're not to get too political, but we're having a whole bunch of things of like the fucking boomers going like, oh, what gender, you're not so many fucking genders, woman, I'm not, women should be having kids, that kind of thing, right? We're having an issue over here. That's like across the board, we're just having an issue with that. So I think a lot of like classic gender roles in Japan still exist, because Japan only became an open country to open to the rest of the world relatively recently. Like, in the grand scheme of like the world history, relatively recently did it become an open state. So they're a little bit slower on some social stuff than the rest of the world. And we're even if that's not the case, we still have issues with that kind of shit. There's also the whole woman can't cook joke, because it's traditionally it's a traditional. The traditional nuclear family, husband that works, wife that stays at home, 2.5 kids, is still a thing in Japan. It's coming out of fashion, because that shit is impossible to sustain as inflation and shit and whatnot kind of goes on. But that's still kind of a nuclear family, white picket fence, boomer mentality shit. It's still a thing over there. There's also like a little bit of homophobia in there as well. They're, like I said, they're getting better with that. I recall, I don't even remember what anime it was, or maybe it was a manga that I was reading. But someone with very obvious parents that had a very old school way of thinking of like, isn't it weird for other girls to like girls? And literally the entire class stared at him. Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? What are you, 50? Get out of here with that shit. So they're getting better. There was also Catherine with best girl Rin. Yeah, it's not. That's just a thing across the board, and we just happen to still see it in anime because I think Japan is like slightly behind on that front. But it still happens. It still happens in America. It still happens in Britain, in the UK. It still happens everywhere. We're getting better with it. We're all getting better with it. Hopefully, we get to a point in time where that just doesn't happen. Period. But I was talking about the Monogatari series, and I can't recommend that anime to anybody because of all the sus shit in there. Now, you could probably, get past all of the fan service, because that's like in every anime. You can get past the fact that they're sexualizing quote unquote teenagers, because that happens in every anime. The thing that's hard for me to recommend Monogatari, the Monogatari series, to other people is the fucking lolis. And I've been trying my best to avoid talking about this because I just don't have an answer. There was never going to be an excuse for this shit, but there was never any good explanation either. And that's why I'm kind of dreading talking about this. But we need to talk about it because this shit needs to stop. All right? Can we cut this shit out? Like, I'm really tired of the fucking, like, 1,000-year-old vampire that is in the body of a fucking 12-year-old. Like, can we cut that out? You want to try that again, fella, with actual English? The answer is stop. No, that's not what I mean. The solution is just stop. That's the solution. But why did this happen to begin with? No clue. No fucking idea. I talked to a bunch of other people who, like, doesn't Loli can literally translate to pedophile? I don't think it does. I also don't want to, like, Google that because I don't want that in my search history. But, like, in terms of, like, so this is the way that I understand it, and you guys can, like, give your input on it and whatnot. But the way that I understand it is that, like, once upon a time, way back when, ancient Greece had, like, this concept of siring, or of having, like, of a mentorship kind of program. Now, if anyone doesn't know, ancient Greek society was incredibly gay. It was, like, super gay. And the reason why it was super gay is because they thought that a relationship between a male and another male was way more pure than a relationship between a male and a female, because a male and a female is a relationship only made to procreate. A true love has to be between a male and a male. That's what they thought in way back when, ancient Greece. And they had a mentorship program where, like, an older, more distinguished male in society would take an apprentice and then teach him shit. Would teach him how to function in society, got how to talk to people, how to do politics, and of course, there is also fucking. They took a younger apprentice, who God knows how old, and they started fucking them. So the way that I understand it is that Christianity came in, saw that shit, and was like, hey, that's weird. Cut that out. I don't know if it's Christianity or the Romans, one of them, maybe both. But they came in, they was like, hey, that's weird. Cut that shit out. And yada, yada, yada. That's why Christianity hates gay people, because that guy, over time, that got mistranslated into stop fucking kids to stop fucking kids and men. So there you go. My understanding of that is that Christianity has shaped a lot of Western culture, but that kind of scenario just did not happen in the East, and that's why a lot of Eastern culture focuses on youth. I've mentioned before several times that that Japan has a surgery that women can get where they surgically change the way their canine teeth are shaped or presented, so that way it's inverted like a child's teeth, and that makes them look quote unquote younger. And that's weird to me. I don't like that. Loli, a body type mostly inherent to fiction, where a girl has more childlike features and small breasts and cuter facial features. Yeah, is my understanding that just didn't happen in Eastern culture. There's a lot of things that kind of contribute to that. Like we mentioned, I'm sure everybody knows about idol culture and how weird that is. A lot of idols are teens. On top of the fact that a lot of idols have rules specifically, like you're not allowed to, if you're an idol, you're not allowed to date people, because that seems like a weird tainting kind of thing. Japanese social media just in general is kind of weird, because even they can own copyright to your likeness and shit, and you have to get permission from certain companies to post on social media. It's very bizarre. If anyone wants to hear more about like the kind of weird shit that goes on in terms of social media posts, just look into the Yakuza actors, because the Yakuza actors actually use like their real face and everything, and so there's a lot of shit they can and can't do because technically the company owns the rights to their likeness. It's very bizarre. But yeah, I think a lot of idol culture has shaped. It's, for one thing, is because they never technically grew out of the youth idolization. They never grew out of the youth idolization, as well as the fact they never grew out of this kind of representation of youth being like the pinnacle, right? Like that's like, if you're young, you're beautiful. We mention this all the time about Final Fantasy, specifically Final Fantasy X, that Lulu and Auron are the oldest members of that group. And Lulu is 25 and she acts like she's 40. She does like the whole entire MILF, like, oh, my breasts are heavy, let me hold them under my arms, like the MILFy kind of acting that you would see. And she's 25. Like, I am at this moment older than she is, and I'm like, why are you acting like a 40-year-old? And then Auron is 30 and he has gray hair. So Japan has a really strong focus on youth. I think it's expressed with teen idol culture. And then that also transfers over to VTuber culture, and why I think I hear this about a lot. Filler actually said this to me, that Fuwamoko and a lot of other VTubers have like this kind of baby speak that they kind of do. And that bothers a lot of Western audiences because they sound too childlike. And it's really, really weird. Something that I just remembered in anime I hate is when they call someone an old hag and they're like 20. Yeah. Or like they go, hey, old guy. And the guy's like fucking 19. And you get like, old guy. I remember, I always stay away from those VTubers who do the baby voices, just talk normally. See, the thing is that they are talking normally. This is a very long time ago. Landy, I'm not actually sure if you were there for this stream, but do you remember Pillow? A viewer of mine that is Japanese born. There was a moment in I think it was the Disco Elysium stream, so you can probably find that in the archive channel somewhere. But Pillow comes in, and we're having a conversation about Disco Elysium, and then my cousin comes to like talk to me about something, and my cousin at the time was 13, but she's a tomboy. So she has a more masculine sounding voice than most girls her age at the time. So she comes in and she sounds like this, and she talks like this, and da 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 and this and that, right? She comes in sounding to what a Japanese speaker would sound like, a fucking adult. Disco Elysium is a good game. Yes, it is. How you doing, Official Throat? And so Pillow goes, ooh, girl on stream. You know how chat would. Like, ooh, there's a female girl on stream. And I go, hey, man, relax. She's 13. And Pillow's response is not to apologize and go, oh, my bad. I didn't know she was 13. Their response is to go, that's what a fucking 13-year-old sounds like in America? They sound like a goddamn adult. That is not what 13-year-olds sound like in Japan. By baby talk, are we talking about how people talk to babies or just higher pitched voices? Both day. No, we're talking about both. So a good example is Fuwamoko. Actually, I'm not going to pull up my YouTube channel right now, but even in the context, the talking in the Fuwamoko versus, damn, what was her name? Bijo? In the video that I watched where they had the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament thing, and we watched that. The comments in that video, a lot of them are saying, God, I can't stand Fuwamoko's baby talk voice. That's what we're talking about.
Make it through 1,000 rooms! Violence.
To the way that they're talking, that's normal for Japan. That's just how girls talk. That's normal for them. Now, I've watched way too much goddamn anime, so that shit doesn't bother me anymore. I just get it. But the I need to be younger, I need to present younger, this whole entire thing in Japan is normal. And that's why we have shit like lolis. See, loli is just a person in the context of Japanese anime. It's just someone who's younger or presents younger, right? They have younger looking features and whatnot. And then because it's anime is going to take whatever concept that they're talking about and bring it to the extreme. And so now we have actual characters that just look like children. You know what I mean? So I understand how we got there. Can we stop going there? Can we stop that? I would like to not do that ever, actually. Or sometimes just straight up children. Sometimes just straight up children, and it's not fucking cool. Like I said, I'm not trying to excuse anything that happens. I just know that there's a lot of tropes that keep coming up that's not okay in Western senses. And like it's fucking weird. It's a preference, so no, it will not stop. No, see, that's the thing. At some point, it's not a preference anymore. It's just morally incorrect. Like saying like, oh, my preference is lolis. That's not a you're fucking weird. You're strange, all right? The MILFs are right there, the DILFs, if you lean that way. See, I think it's interesting that America, or I guess Western areas, have a preference to older people. But I think that's the boomers' fault. If your preference is lolis, you gotta be in jail. You gotta be in jail. You just do. But like, that's the thing that I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of anime out there that has like these weird like caveats and shit, and it's hard for people to get into it, and it's hard to share things because I think that anime is probably one of the greatest animes of all time. But I have to caveat that shit. But there's a lot of fan service and there's a lot of fucking lowly shit in there. Also, a good character, Anya. Yeah, I like Anya is a great character. I don't think there's any weird shit. I haven't seen any weird shit with Anya. In fact, I think that one character that likes Anya is like, oh my god, Anya's so cool. And Anya's like, get the fuck away from me, you freak. Anya is a great representation of a character that does not need to be fucking sexualized. She's a child, she stays a child, she does child things. Anya stuff is whack. What are people trying to like age her up to sexualize her? Is that what you mean? That's fucking weird. They do it a lot with child characters who are actual children. Yeah, we don't need to. We could just not. We could just not do that. On top of the fact, why does everything need to be fucking sexual? Can we just not? Can y'all keep it in your fucking pants, please? Jesus Christ! Not everything needs to be sexualized. I know Rule 34 exists for a thing. It's giving very nambla. I don't know what that is. Not everything needs to be fucking sexualized. Like you can. There are things that it just doesn't need to. People are horny. Yeah, you can be. There are better ways to be horny. All right. There are consenting adults. I guarantee you that the weird shit that you're into, someone else is into it. You don't need to put that shit onto the internet for everybody to see. All right, we don't need to do that. But yeah, the main thing I wanted to talk about was that there's a lot of anime out there that I think is really good. There's a lot of good stories, a lot of good writing, but you have to caveat it with, yeah, but this thing comes from Japan. We have to put the Japan clause on everything, and it's fucking awful.